Well, there were a lot of other people to consider in telling my sister's story. She's a mother and she's a daughter, and I wasn't sure if it was really something that I should share. You know, you often see journalists or even celebrities who tell their stories and you feel like, you know, well, are they telling this for a reason? Is there an agenda? And all of these things that go along with us naturally being skeptical when people open up. I was invited to an event in New York. I just moved to New York, and the MC had canceled on this gala for an organization called Day One, which is the only organization in New York that's allowed to go into the public schools to talk about domestic violence. And I accepted the invitation. I emceed the event, and the event started with one girl telling her story. She was a teenager, and she was the victim of domestic abuse. And then another girl came, and another girl, and another girl. And their stories were the most painful things you can imagine. They were sharing things that I looked at them and thought, how could you be telling this entire room full of strangers, what's happened to you? And then I said to myself, I've got to tell my sister's story. They are giving so much tonight, and I am standing there with a secret, with a family secret, and they deserve my honesty. You cannot ask people to be honest, and then you stand there holding in a secret that could free your guilt, free your family of hiding something, and then, most important, save a life. And that night was the first night that I told my sister's story. But it was only because these brave young women stood in front of this group of people, and they talked about what had happened to them, to their children, their fears, their anxiety, their pain. So that prompted me to do what I'm doing now. Let me tell you, I was fortunate enough to receive an award in Connecticut a few years ago from an organization that's done tremendous work. And the woman who started it started like 40 years ago. And she told me that at the time, police officers would come to the home of a domestic violence survivor and say, what are you complaining about? Your husband works on Wall Street, you live in this nice house, and you're calling us? And so there's no demographic, there's no background that is, you know, not impacted by this. Whether it's the Washington, D.C. socialite or the young girl who lives, you know, in Dallas, Texas, my part of the country, who doesn't have a single person in this world she believes cares about her. And the abuser is saying, I'm the only one who cares about you. And then the next minute, he's abusing her. So it doesn't have a path. It's a cancer on society. And so often we've been trained to believe that what happens in our home is our business. And it's not. It's all of our business. I can't speak to the law in every state, so I don't want to give you wrong information. But what I can tell you is that it's not that black and white. I mean, listen, you saw what happened with Ray Rice. It was on tape, he was prosecuted, and then, you know, he ended up getting a shorter span of a sentence than people feel that was warranted, but that's what the law says. And they are still together working on their relationship, whatever we think about it. That's what they've chosen to do. What the case did do was that it opened the door to the broader conversation of domestic violence not being black and white. That's a couple who they've decided to face the world together and work through it. So, you know, there's many, many layers to it. But in the end, I'm one person. But there are millions of people that you will never know their names, you will never read about them, who are doing far greater work than I am. And I'm thankful for all.